You're listening to the Ask Drone U podcast. You ask, we answer your drone questions. Whether you're here to turn your passion into profit or you simply fly for fun, we're a community of learners and teachers who aspire to achieve greatness. We are
Drone U.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Ask Drone U. My name is Paul, and I am joined by the very special, very talented drone pilot. You may have heard of him before. He hails from another land. He has crossed many oceans to be here. I'm talking about the Flying Dutchman, who's joining me today for this week's news show. Haye, welcome, my friend.
Hey, thank you, Paul. That's the best introduction I've ever had, I think, on this show, but I appreciate it. Thanks for having me live here in the studio.
Yeah, it's actually really exciting to have you in the studio, and I think it's going to make it a little bit easier to do the news show when we're sitting next to each other because, well, as you guys know, the audio quality is a lot better, but also we don't have to awkwardly interrupt each other, which brings me to our first piece of not really news, but everyone's probably wondering, what is the Flying Dutchman, aka Haye, aka Drone DJ, doing in the Drone U headquarters?
Well, Balloon Fiesta, I guess, is what brought me here, of course, as well as just the ability to work here with Paul and check out his office and the new race course, about which we'll do actually a special video. But specifically, Balloon Fiesta was always something on my list of things to do, and now I had the chance to check it out. We went on an amazing kayak trip early in the morning, the day before yesterday, and got to see some balloon action up close.
There you are.
See here?
That's Haye actually kayaking right there, surrounded by balloons. So, a lot of people come to Balloon Fiesta and they get to see, the field. They go to the field. The balloons are constantly leaving them. Whereas we went kayaking and the balloons actually chased us. What was your reaction? I mean, what did you really think of Balloon Fiesta as a whole? I mean, did you like the experience that you had, or?
Oh, I thought this was amazing. I mean, there are no crowds really. I mean, you're on the water in a kayak. We had a beautiful day. You have all the balloons surrounding you and splashing and dipping down into the water. I mean, you can't really get any closer to the action. We had some of our guides and other people in kayaks high-fiving the crews in those balloons. I mean, they're right there. You can touch them. You can see them. It was an awesome experience. So, I think I got really lucky with this.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. No, thank you for coming. We really did get lucky because for those of you who haven't been to Balloon Fiesta before, you really have to figure out, if you're not going to go to the field, you have to be very precise about where you're going to see the Balloon Fiesta from. As we learned today, as we were trying to shoot Balloon Fiesta from the sky, we did actually get some cool stuff. But the issue is, if you're not in exactly the right place at the right time, it's going to be incredibly difficult to really see Balloon Fiesta, because if the winds change, well, then the balloons may not actually make it to you.
Oh yeah, and especially when you're flying drones and you try to get some of the action on your drone camera. I mean, first of all, you're not allowed to fly anywhere near the Balloon Fiesta itself, so there's only a few spots where you can take off from. And then, like Paul was saying, I mean, depending on the wind direction and also the changing winds at different altitudes, it's not very easy to kind of get lucky and get in the right spot at the right time. But we got some really cool footage, and it's been awesome watching this from close by.
Yeah, I'm glad that you enjoyed it, Haye. I'm glad that you came out here. It's been a lot of fun having you here, and really excited to tell people about the race course and fly it. Excited to see you fly it and not crash. I've crashed quite a bit myself, so that's kind of a loaded statement. But, Haye, there's a lot of news this week, and I just want to kind of get right into it because I have to say I'm really, really excited. But I also am kind of convinced that, DJI might be playing games. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you remember the GoPro Karma, as soon as the GoPro Karma came out, DJI launched a drone right after that, almost as if they were waiting for the Karma to come out to then say, oh, no, check us out, to kind of steal the thunder. Well, Skydio comes out last week, the new Skydio drone, and not, 48 or 24 hours later?
Something like that. Really
the Mavic
fast.
3 is, displayed. Hey, we're going to see the Mavic 3. So, Haye, as I've always wanted to say with you in the studio, what do you have for us?
Well, so what we did is, of course, it started with that tweet from Osida LV, the guy on Twitter who's been leaking information from DJI. He's been wrong in the past. He's been right as well, more often than he has been wrong, actually. If you look at this tweet that's on the screen right now, that's kind of what kickstarted it off. We ran this by some people that we know in the drone industry to see if we could confirm these specs. What we know now is that the DJI Mavic 3 is expected to be released at the end of January in 2020. Now, if you remember, DJI is going to equip all their new drones as of January 1st, 2020 that weigh over 250 grams with an ADS-B receiving functionality, meaning that if helicopters or airplanes fly close by, you might be able to pick up those signals and, of course, make sure that you stay clear of any manned aircraft. Going back to the specs for the DJI Mavic 3, we know that that's ADS-B receiving capability is going to be on board. We also know that the video footage, or the quality of the video footage, is going to be at least on par with the Phantom 4 Pro. My guess is that it's going to be slightly better, probably. And then furthermore, we know it's going to have Active Track 3.0, so that will be the next generation. Osida suggested that OcuSync 3.0 might be included on that drone as well. We've heard otherwise. We don't think that's going to be the case. So we think DJI is going to outfit it with the OcuSync 2.0, which is a really good system anyway, so I don't think that's going to be a deal breaker for anybody. I think really people are very focused on the video quality and the photo quality of the new drone. Of course, you have the portability factor that you get with the Mavic versus the Phantom, but I think many people were slightly disappointed with the 4K video footage that you got from the Mavic 2 Pro, so hopefully the Mavic 3 is going to be a big step up. And again, end of January 2020, so not that far away anymore.
Yeah, no, I have to say, the Mavic 2 Pro, while the color is amazing in photos and videos, you're so right about the quality of the video. It degrades so much from photos. Yeah. It's almost, you're wondering what's kind of going on in the back end, almost as if the sensor has more capability than what it's showcasing, because, when we were showing that low light footage from the first day of Balloon Fiesta, in fact, let me pull it up really quick. When we were showing that, you can really see this, the sensor just absolutely struggling in pretty much every way possible. And I have to say, Haye, one thing that I really like about the Mavic is the dynamic range in the color, but me, like other people, you can't really shoot 4K 60. The edges just get so soft, and it's really not something that, you really want to show to your clients. Here's one particular clip that I thought actually came out pretty good. This was from the north side of Balloon Fiesta. And actually, this footage doesn't look too bad as far as the noise is concerned. But I think the reason that the noise isn't too bad in this imagery is look how bright the background is starting to become. So obviously you got some really killer shaky movements there. But you
still see the graininess and the noise in the color in the sky though.
Yeah, and look here in the fog too. And it wasn't until I just slightly turned where the color of the whole image changed, or excuse me, the light in the whole image changed, and then it degrades like a crazy amount. So I would say I would love to be able to shoot a full 4K 60 on the Mavic 2 Pro, but frankly, it's not there. So, but here's the question is dear DJI, we still need a global shutter camera. So whenever you launch a new drone, please include a global shutter so we can actually do fun things like mapping with it. So, it's interesting because, all the rumors that I've been hearing, Haye, still no global shutter.
No,
right?
not as far as we know.
It's just so frustrating.
There's not that much known about the Mavic 3 at this point, so I wouldn't discount it. I would expect that DJI is going to make sure that the Mavic 3 outperforms the Phantom 4 Pro version 2 for sure. So I wouldn't. I'm not sure if they would include a global shutter or mechanical shutter, but hopefully they will.
It would be difficult to outperform the Phantom if it doesn't have a global shutter. So true. Yeah, you kind of kill the argument right there with that, because you can't map with one of these things. People say, oh yeah, you can map with the linear rolling shutter. Sure you can if you're not running a business that's actually creating volume and revenue, because I don't want to fly, let's say, for example, we had a lady at a recent Denver mapping class, and to fly the whole mission was 11 minutes on a Phantom, but to fly it on a Mavic 2 Pro, because you have to fly it, in safe mode, 24 minutes. And then
so for mapping purposes, you need a global shutter.
Yeah.
But for other things like photography, videography, it might not be as much of a concern. But still.
It'll still serve a lot of people. But in other news, in this next piece of drone news, Well, we've got another drone coming out from DJI, but we've been knowing about this one, or we have known about this one for some time. Haye, what's going on with the new Mavic Mini?
Yeah, DJI Mavic Mini, we knew it was coming. We had, of course, the leaked photos and video footage that we saw, I think the first images were 2 months ago, like August 9th or something. So we've seen a pre-production prototype for some time now. More recently, FCC filings that were made public actually disclosed the name, and the official name is going to be DJI Mavic Mini. So with that, we kind of knew for sure that this was coming. Now the latest rumors say that this drone is actually going to be released on October 30th, which is really not far away anymore. And again, timing is of course smart on DJI's part. They launched it right before the whole Q4 shopping season. And I think with this drone weighing less, or at least that's what's rumored, less than 250 grams, I think it's going to be a hot selling drone for sure.
I think it'll be a hot selling drone because there won't be any confusion about registration, or at least registering this particular drone. But I think a common piece or a common misconception, Haye, is that just because this drone doesn't have to be registered, well, that means you don't have to follow the recreational rules either.
No.
And that's not correct.
No.
Yeah. Just because you don't have to register this particular drone because it comes in at a mere 245 grams, you would still have to follow the recreational flight rules. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, that when it comes to these recreational flight rules, you're really better off just operating as a Part 107 pilot. But one piece of interesting news, I'm not sure if you heard about this, is that the time that it's been taking to get wide area authorizations for Part 107, the time has now started to increase because they're now handling Lance authorizations for recreational pilots. And it's kind of one of those boneheaded moves, like, come on, guys. Like, the commercial people have been here for a while. Cater to us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think it also depends on the country in which you fly your drones. I mean, for the US people flying the Mavic Mini recreationally, you don't have to register the drone, which is nice, but there aren't really any major benefits. Compare that to people flying drones in Canada. For them, it is a huge benefit of having a drone less than 250 grams. I was messaging on Twitter earlier today with somebody, or one of our Canadian readers, and he was like super excited about the Mavic Mini. And he said that for some lighter commercial work, he would totally use this drone. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a hot-selling drone because it's small, it's portable, it's lightweight, easy to fly. The price point is right there. It's going to have 4K footage, video footage. So, like all the major boxes basically for, let's say, the average consumer drone pilot, I think they're ticked. So I think it's going to be the drone of the shopping season probably.
Interesting. Well, whether it is the drone of the shopping season or not is yet to be argued, as Skydio launches a drone that I think a lot of people are going to be all over the Skydio drone over a Mavic, just because of the ability to show off yourself. You know, a lot of people really want to be able to do that. So, and I would say watching, the Skydio's ability to, avoid obstacles is so much better than DJI. Like, it's not even a competition. Yeah. And that's actually really fascinating, because you would think that DJI would be really far ahead, but it goes to show that American technology and science and math and education come up on top. So congrats, to the Skydio team, and thanks for representing MIT well. We really appreciate it. So
yeah, for sure. And as you probably know, I think their first 3 batches by now have sold out already. So if you want a Skydio 2 drone you order today, you're probably not going to get one until the end of the first quarter next year. So
oh, really?
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Because you were saying they're like handmade, right?
They're made here in the US, and based on the video footage I've seen of their production line, for a big part, they are hand assembled at least. So I don't know how big their production capacity is. That doesn't really show in the video. You also don't know how fast they can ramp that up. I mean, it's a well-funded company, so maybe they're able to scale up things. I believe by now it's first 3 batches have been sold out, if I'm not mistaken. Wow. So I don't know the size of those batches, obviously, but it does go to show that a lot of people are very excited about it. And going back to your point about DJI releasing the original Mavic Pro right after the GoPro Karma, it's probably not quite a coincidence that the Mavic 3 is not here yet, and we have to wait until January.
Rules of threes. Solo.
Yeah.
Karma.
Yeah.
Skydio.
Yeah.
It's a pattern.
Active Track 3.0.
Yeah,
we'll see,
it's
we'll see
a
how good that
pattern.
is.
They can say whatever they want, but actions speak louder than words. Anyway, well, and it is really interesting. And I heard that the batch size is 1 million drones.
Is it?
Anyway, moving on to the next piece of news this week. You know, this particular piece of news, my friend, is going to cause some significant controversy, in my opinion, because there is a group of police officers utilizing drones to make arrests, not really to save people or to help people, but rather to utilize making an arrest. So, here's the thing is that, I think the reason that I say that there's going to be so much controversy is that people are genuinely afraid of police officers having drones. And I think what they're afraid of is misuse of the drones. And I think that they're afraid of utilizing this technology in a way that, avidly breaks constitutional rights one way or another. And, it's interesting because there is a podcast, I want to say it's from Every Little Thing, but I can't remember which show it is. And they talk about, or it's Radiolab, they talk about cops and live police or live PD or whatever it is, in how they're having so many problems with recruitment now with police officers. Because all these kids have been watching Cops and Live PD growing up, and a lot of those officers have done things that are completely not okay to do as a police officer, but yet they were instructed to do or asked to act things out to make it more dramatic. So these new cadets have this terrible example, and it's actually becoming quite the problem. So as someone who used to love watching Cops, now I'm like, oh, we're just setting a bad example. So I don't watch it anymore.
Are going to make that worse.
I'm concerned with that, but before we dive too deep into the problem at hand, what is the news story here, Haye?
Well, the news story is the Chula Vista Police Department. They started using drones as a first responder, meaning that as soon as they get a call coming into the police station, they actually send the drone out first before a police officer is being sent out to the spot. So the drone gets there before any police officer gets there.
And so that's the flip side of the argument, right? Is that we're saving police officers' lives. We're not putting them in danger. So I love that because I've personally lost some friends who are police officers, so really love that aspect of it.
Well, the thing that gives the advantage to the drones is that the deployment time is so fast. I mean, within 120 seconds, they have a drone out. Now, from the police station, I think the action radius is limited to a mile, so it's only in the direct vicinity of the police station that are using these drones. But to send a drone out right away and capture video footage of the incident or accident or whatever it is that they are being called out for provides the police department with the first information. So you can kind of see what's going on. You can see if it's an accident, how severe it is, whether the one officer that's on his way, is that enough? You need to send additional support crews. So I think in that sense, it's been successful. They've had, since October 2018, they've had 1,000 drone flights. It started with just one drone. Now they've upskilled it to 4 different drones. This is, by the way, part of the US integration pilot program that was launched by the FAA and the Department of Transportation, a little more than a year ago by now. So it's been very successful, and the information that they collected with these 1,000 drone flights have helped in the arrest of 130 arrests. So it's not to say that the drones were directly involved in apprehending somebody, but the information captured with the drones was helpful in that regard.
So I have an interesting question here. You said that they only fly within a 1 mile radius of the police station. So I know that if you have an FAA POW COA, that oftentimes with an SGI you can transverse people or fly directly over people. I would be really interested to see their operating parameters because, you're supposed to keep the drone line of sight. A mile in any direction is beyond line of sight. So, I mean, that's just science. So the next thing is do they have pre-planned routes that they try to go to avoid flying over people? I mean, there's a lot of questions here because, here's my next question and here's the zinger. They keep saying that they can launch a drone in 120 seconds. And if they're flying that M210 or M200, I guarantee it's not in 120 seconds. Maybe if it was a Phantom, I could believe that, or a Mavic, but not one of those. It's going to take you 120 seconds to get the remote to turn on.
I agree with you. It would be very interesting to be able to talk to them and kind of get the details on how they actually operate. I mean, the fact that they're part of the US IPP program probably gives them some leeway as into what they're allowed to do. A mile, could be beyond line of sight in certain weather conditions. If it's a large drone, you might still be able to see it. It'd be interesting to talk to them and get the details on this for sure.
Yeah, I would be really interested with that. And I would say with a high degree of confidence that the size of that drone, while it is technically larger, the cross section of that drone in correlation to your eye, I do not see you flying this thing more than, let's say, benefit of the doubt, 3,000 feet, and a mile's 5,280 feet.
That's far out, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I don't know. I have a lot of questions here.
Yeah.
It's a controversial story. So let me ask you, all of you out there, what do you think? You think this is a good use to protect police, or do you have some questions about how it's being done when drone operators or DSPs are limited to operating a certain way? What do you think about this? We would love to hear your comments. You can go to the Drone DJ site and go drones as first responders. The link is in the description, and leave us a comment there, or leave us a comment in your traditional means on YouTube. Sorry that I haven't been getting to YouTube comments, just for everyone out there. There's a reason for that. We've got a lot of new hires here. We've got a growing training center. We've had trainings almost every single week, and it's been hard for me to get to those comments, but I do plan on getting to them. Now, before we move on, or should we just move on, in this next piece of drone news, which is unbelievably interesting to me.
Yeah, I would agree. A private pilot develops his own small radar system that you can attach to an airplane, small airplanes preferably, I guess, to detect drones and to help pilots avoid drones. This is a story about Rick Zelenka. He's a private pilot, but also an engineer. I believe he's out of Denver, and he started recently his own company, Drone Traffic, and he won a NASA-funded contract to help him develop this lightweight radar system. Again, you install it on a small airplane, and it's going to help you detect drones in the near area, so that you can actually avoid those. I haven't heard of any other system that you can actually mount on an airplane to help you detect drones in your area. So I think in that sense, he's creative, and he's come up with a great solution, it seems. He has a working prototype right now, and it should be ready in 2020 to be tested and reviewed. So it's going to be interesting to see if it works well, and if you can actually spot all kinds of drones, how far away you can be from drones before you see them. So there's not a lot of detail that we have at this point, but I'm definitely planning to reaching out to Rick and to find out more about this invention that he
This guy
just made.
seems like on a whole new level of intelligent. This guy created and tested millimeter wave radar systems on Black Hawk that identified ground hazards and displayed relevant warnings on a panel-mounted display. He managed an autonomous helicopter research and development group involving pilot computer automation, sensor fusion, and signal processing. Holy cow!
Yeah, and he's an engineer, a patent attorney, a former aerospace executive, and a pilot. So he knows a thing or two, I guess, about flying, and probably also about drones and radars and whatnot.
I want to meet this guy. This guy seems like a
we should get him on the show.
Cool cat, for sure.
We should get him on the show or interview him. I bet he has a lot of interesting things to share.
Yeah, a whole lot. Yeah. So very interesting piece of news as more and more manned pilots are looking for ways to identify hazards in the sky.
Yeah.
But, last week's news show was super long, and this week's news show seems super short. Do you think that's because everyone just wants to launch their Christmas product on the first week of October?
Probably. Probably. But we have one more topic I think we can bring up, the Phantom 4 Pro.
What do you have for us on the Phantom 4 Pro? Because rumors are it's supposedly coming back, but it's kind of not. What's up?
It was going to come back in September, then it was going to come back in October, and now apparently it's been delayed yet again because the ongoing trade tariff discussions that are taking place right now between China and the US. If the trade tariffs are going to lead to further price increases for DJI to maintain their profit margins, it might well be that the Phantom 4 simply becomes too expensive. If you go to the DJI online store right now, I believe it's priced at $1,729 US, even though it's out of stock. If we get to see further price increases as a result of those tariffs, you might wonder if it's still interesting for DJI at all to temporarily bring back the Phantom 4 Pro version 2. Also, since we're so close to the launch of the Mavic 3, I hope they bring it back, but at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if at that point they say, you know what, let's just skip this and move on.
Yeah. Oh, so troubling.
Well, yeah, I know a lot of people swear by the Phantom. And
a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people appreciate the form factor, the camera, the shutter, everything. yeah, for that not to come back, a lot of people are going to be disappointed. But at the same time, if that drone is going to be close to $18, $19, maybe $2,000, at some point you wonder, are people still going to buy that?
Well, I would still buy it because it's hands down the most value for the money. You can do mapping, you can do creative photography, you can do videography.
Agree.
I've built a business on a Phantom. I've learned how to fly it in extremely challenging and difficult ways. It's paid off, 10, 100-fold. And I would say, for a lot of our members even that have Phantoms, it's created a business. Phantoms have also created drone programs for agencies that wouldn't otherwise have programs.
Oh, yeah.
So I still think it's the highest value for the money, but it brings up that other discussion that we were talking about actually in the car yesterday, which was, is there still a drone that can handle thermal, that can handle zoom, that can do all these things? Because everyone keeps running to the M210, the M200. And, I know they have the new version, but the reliability issues still that we keep seeing, and it's the same issues every single time in a mapping training or an enterprise training. And it just begs the question, is that really the most valuable drone for the money? Because you can have 2 cameras and 2 operators and all that.
Yeah.
I don't think the answer is yes. I think the most valuable drone for the money is the Phantom, and then the second most valuable drone for the money is the Inspire 1 Pro version 2, because you can still fly the Z3 zoom camera, which is it's a 12 megapixel sensor, not a 2. So you can still even digitally zoom beyond the actual optical zoom on that camera, but you can still fly an XT. You have to fly the older model, the XT, but guess what? Those are also half the price. So, as a public safety agency, if you absolutely need thermal and you don't have a big budget and you want zoom, you're probably looking at the Inspire 1 Pro. But a lot of, as we've seen in New York, a lot of agencies are just opting for the Mavic 2 Enterprise Dual.
Yeah, I think that's the trend with a lot of first responders, is that they've been downscaling to smaller drones that are more practical, that you can easily fit into your fire truck or your SUV. The price point is much lower, so it's much easier to get more drones for the same budget and then have money left over for spare parts and training your people. So I think it makes a lot of sense to go for smaller drones, yeah.
Yeah, and it worries me when we have all these departments spending a lot of money on these bigger enterprise drones, because if they don't work consistently and they're not reliable and they cause problems, is the department still going to spend money on drones in the future? And then what effect is that going to have on the overall drone market as a whole? Because I think it's actually pretty easy to sit here and say that the enterprise side of the market is probably sustaining the market at the moment, because there's kind of been that, big push with consumer. And I would say we're at the tail end of that until we have new exciting things that people have never seen before, like the Skydio, and that consumer interest will continue to rise. But right now, I think the enterprise market is sustaining a lot of companies.
Yeah, and then going back to the Phantom 4, the Phantom 4 is probably one of the most valuable drones you can get your hands on for that price point right now, like you said, because it can be used in so many different ways. And until we know what the Mavic 3 is going to be like, I think the Phantom for most people is still the ultimate drone in that sense, where you get a really good price point and a lot of capability and also a lot of reliability all in one package.
Couldn't agree more, and that's why I have 4 of them.
But will it come back this year, right? I mean, that's the big question now.
What they say and what happens, you never know, frankly. But, on that bombshell, I think that's going to do it for us today. Flying Dutchman, I'm happy, so happy that you're here.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me over.
Yeah.
The whole Balloon Fiesta was amazing, and being able to do this show live here in front of all of you and in the studio is really cool as well. So thanks for having me.
Definitely, we appreciate it. Well, everyone, if you enjoy the show, please leave us a review wherever you download podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, on Apple Podcasts, or Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts. Please take a second. Okay, maybe not 1, but like 30 to write us a review, as it helps other people find us. If you really want to make an impact, you can leave us a review on YouTube as well. But that's going to do it for our show today. Thanks again for joining us on another news episode of Ask Drone U.